Hi, my name is Jace Har. In this presentation, I'm going to talk about improving library services for LGBTQ plus people, as well as provide you with an overview of barriers and enablers to queer information behavior. Just a note, in this presentation, LGBTQ plus and queer will be used interchangeably. There are differences, and certain people prefer one word over the other. There's nuance to it, but we will not be addressing that in this presentation. So, queer people often have information behaviors centered around coming to terms with their identities in a world that is often hostile. And the hostility of that world that we find ourselves in is going to be my first barrier, which is heterosexism and homophobia. Heterosexism is a term that is not as commonly used, but it is very pervasive in our culture, and it is the belief that heterosexuality is superior or more normal. Homophobia is the hatred or fear of queer people, which we know more about as individuals in this society. So queer people often, completely understandably, will avoid situations with professionals in which they might experience homophobia or heterosexism. And that has been extensively studied in terms of avoiding doctor's offices, but it also includes libraries. They, as we will talk about in the recommendation section a little bit further, they will not often ask a librarian or other professional for help in finding the information that they need. So, the second barrier is inadequate education. Education, including sexual education in schools, as well as educational materials like books and documentaries surrounding queer people and queer topics, is inadequate. And this often leads queer people to use entertainment media for fact finding, but the entertainment media also has uses in terms of validating queer identities and feelings. Often, queer people will evaluate the media itself for its portrayal of queer people, and queer entertainment media often inspires queer people to create media of their own, which we will talk about in the recommendation section. So, those were our two barriers that we're going to deal with today. I'd like to take a second and talk about enablers. So, the first enabler is community. And fellow queer people are a trusted source of information, and that includes in the healthcare world by both patients and doctors. And there is a strong culture of sharing information between queer people. However, as Chapman showed us in 1996, isolation can be a surprisingly prevalent factor in what might seem to be an insular community. There's also interpersonal conflict, and if you rely on another person as an information source, sometimes interpersonal conflicts can get in the way. The other enabler to queer information behavior is the internet. Queer people often make use of the internet to share and receive information while remaining anonymous so that they can avoid discrimination, including heterosexism and homophobia. Online resources, including pornography, are important information sources for queer people. Lastly, I'm going to talk about recommendations. I have 3 recommendations for libraries in terms of improving services for LGBTQ plus people. First off, libraries should promote queer media in ways that protect privacy, like pamphlets and displays. As we discussed previously, queer people who are not secure in their identities often don't ask professionals for help if they think they might experience heterosexism and homophobia, and that includes in libraries. So, to get the queer media materials to the people that need them the most, libraries may want to include as part of their repertoire pamphlets and displays about queer issues. Secondly, libraries could provide resources, workshops, and technology needed for patrons to make zines, record podcasts, or write fan fiction. And this is part of how they engage with entertainment media is creation, but it also can provide a place to create community. So the benefits thereof are twofold. Lastly, I'd like to talk about installing community bulletin boards, which people can use to advertise queer events and thereby improve queer community at the library. Thank you.